Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Leonard, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar entitled How to Be a Smart Consumer of Business Internet Service. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenters and thank them for being with us today. Thomas Lochner is Director of Product Management for Alaska Communications. Co-presenting with Thomas is Sandy Knechtel, Senior Manager, Enterprise Marketing here at Alaska Communications. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. This is Thomas Lochner, and I'll let Sandy introduce himself too.
Thanks very much, Chris, and thank you all for joining us. Look forward to sharing our presentation with you today.
Our laid out here, I'm not going to read them to you. Our key component here is how to find the best partner to get your bandwidth to make sure that your business can do what it needs to do without having to think about the bandwidth. So that it just becomes part of your business process that you don't even think about. So in order to do that, the 3 bullet points here, we have to understand our needs and uses, understand the technology, and understand the best business practices available with the services that are available. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sandy to talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going.
So one of the first questions you want to ask yourself is clearly, why is your high-speed internet connection so important? And I think by the very nature that you're on the call today, it speaks volumes to the fact that you recognize your business is dependent upon, and your internet connection is probably one of the most important bills you pay every month. But do you really know what you're getting? And do you know what you'll be getting today, tomorrow, and in the future as you think about your reliability on an internet connection is only growing? Bandwidth usage continues to grow. And we've got a little model here. This is called Nielsen's Law, which basically suggests that increases or demand for bandwidth increase 50% annually. So if today you're buying a 10 meg internet connection, models suggest that by 2018 that could be a 170 meg connection. So if that puts things in perspective for you, that not only is your internet connection important today, but will become increasingly important in the future. And then you think about all the new uses for your internet connection. It's not just for email and using the web anymore. You think about the emergence of cloud computing, doing backup and offsite storage via the internet and the cloud. Obviously, the needs of a reliable, affordable internet connection are only growing for literally every business that has computers today. So we thought that sort of set the tone for the importance of your internet connection. And what we want to do today is sort of take you through how to be a smart consumer of business internet services.
And Sandy, I'm reminded, just 10 years ago, I thought I was smoking hot with a 28.8 modem connection, and now, we won't even talk about it any further. But let's get down to the fine 9. And the fine 9 is the 9 questions around how to build the best bandwidth for your business, how to select the right product suite, how to get the most out of your bandwidth so your business simply runs smoothly. And so the 9 questions are, how much do you need, obviously? What do you do with it? How critical is your internet connection? If you're only checking email, that's actually, I use the word only, but it is a very critical connection because it's now the predominant communication in the world. Are you okay with paying overages? Do you require a reliable connection? And its corollary, how do you get that reliable connection? How secure is your connection? And do you have sufficient bandwidth for your business continuity plans? And do you need as fast download as upload? So with that, we'll just launch right into number 1.
So the first question you need to ask yourself when you're shopping for business internet services, or if you already have some and basically you want to evaluate whether you're with the right plan or the right provider, is looking at how you work as a company. How many employees do you have, obviously, but not only how many employees do you have, but how many of those use computers? You might be a retail organization that has a lot of employees, but not as many computers. So it's not only looking at number of employees, but also the infrastructure that's going to draw on your internet connection. Do you have multiple offices and multiple locations? Sometimes that can increase your needs for bandwidth. How do you collaborate, or what are your collaboration patterns between your offices and with external partners? If you have a lot of suppliers that you're doing a lot of your business with, that may mean sending a lot of large files, receiving a lot of large files. That can impact your bandwidth needs. And most importantly, what are your hours of operation and your hours of utilization? If you're in business fundamentally between 9 and 5 p.m. most days, that's probably where you're going to see your highest bandwidth consumed by your users, but that might not be your highest utilization hours, depending on other applications running on your network. If you're backing up your data off-site, that might happen predominantly between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. So you'll want to not just look at your hours of operation, but your hours of utilization. And of course, the next one is managing to the busy hour. The busy hour being sort of that where you're generally at 80% bandwidth utilization. And obviously, if you're exceeding that 80% on a predominant basis, you might not have enough bandwidth. But predominantly, you want to look at where are you and when are you consuming most of your bandwidth. One of the things we like to recommend to all of our customers and we like to provide to our customers is a twice-a-year network utilization audit and possibly asking your provider for a monthly utilization report. Most internet service providers today, if you're buying an appropriate package, can provide you with the utilization report that helps you understand where's your bandwidth going, how's it being used, to make sure, one, you're not overpaying, and two, maybe perhaps you're getting enough bandwidth, perhaps you need more, perhaps you don't need as much as you're buying, and maybe there's an opportunity for savings. But partner with your internet service provider for a network or a monthly utilization report. One of the things we also like to recommend to our customers is to sort of follow the 5-to-1 rule. And that's basically a good rule of thumb. It may vary based on your industry. Around, for every 5 users, you probably want 1 megabyte of symmetrical bandwidth. And we'll talk about what symmetrical bandwidth means later in the presentation. But obviously, what you do as a company is the most important driver of your bandwidth needs. And obviously, we recommend you partner with a partner that can help you understand how your needs may impact your bandwidth requirements. So we've got a little survey question I'm going to ask you to fill out. And it's basically something that will allow us to make sure we're tailoring this presentation best to you. But I'd ask that you tell us what you do with your bandwidth today. Are you conducting online research? Are you downloading large or numerous files? Are you uploading large or numerous files? Do you conduct off-site file backups? Do you manage and process credit card transactions? Are you utilizing the cloud? Are you video conferencing, or all of the above? I'd ask our attendees to fill that in, please. You have a couple minutes here, or 30 seconds for you to process your answers. So I think what we're seeing is a fair amount of all the above, as well as downloading large or numerous files. All of the above is not surprising to me. That's our largest driver, and that basically suggests that a lot of you are using your internet for a lot of things, which in my mind suggests it's pretty important to your organization. Building off of those answers, thank you for your response, by the way. What we find is the customers that we talk to, email and web traffic, uploading and downloading, is rarely all that you use your internet connection for. Certainly it's critical for that function alone, but have you embraced the cloud? Are you using cloud computing? Are you backing up data off-site via your internet connection? Are you conducting video conferences? Video conferences are a very latency-dependent application, which means sometimes you'll need a lot of upload speed for that to work as seamlessly as you'd expect to gain the productivity enhancements video conferencing can offer your organization. But really what you do with your bandwidth is the most important driver of what bandwidth you need. So, of course, though, all of that drives a need for a speedy, reliable connection, and also the type of connection that you need. And what we're trying to do today is sort of share with you the best practices around figuring out what type of connection you need.
So as you run your business, imagine for a moment that your internet just went down. And that, to me, really goes to the question of how critical is your bandwidth. I know that if the internet at this company went down, we would be hobbled. We would be able to communicate some, but we would be stuck in the water for a large segment of our business. So we have dedicated bandwidth here. We have not only dedicated bandwidth, but we have symmetrical bandwidth. And what that means is our upload and download equal, and it's dedicated. If you have a shared pipe, then what you're doing is you're competing for bandwidth with someone else. And so as we look at our internet connection and what we do with our internet connection, we really need to challenge ourselves and think about how we want to make sure our data gets to where it needs to go in the appropriate amount of time and with the appropriate speed it needs to get there. Shared bandwidth is not even close to dedicated bandwidth. Symmetrical bandwidth provides that consistent experience for your business throughout the day. And what I mean by that is, I'm getting a little technical, and I apologize for this, but the internet runs in small segments, and if your small segments of data are aggregated and queued up because your bandwidth is shared, it will create what Sandy described as latency on a video conference. It will slow down your traffic. And so when we look at our bandwidth utilization, it is critical that we have a symmetrical and solid internet connection.
And just to build on that, Thomas, I guess one of the things which I like to point out, and I've had a number of conversations with our customers, is when you're getting a shared 4 megabyte per second connection, that's best case scenario, but not likely to be your everyday run-of-the-mill consistent expectation of always getting 4. You could get 4, but your likely experience is getting less.
That's correct.
Versus when you're getting dedicated, you're always getting a dedicated 4 megs. It sort of improves the consistency of the speed at which you're buying, which, as any business owner can attest, consistency and managing out risk is sort of how businesses today are succeeding. So,
very well put. An example of it is we've had a customer come to Alaska Communication looking for a 22 meg down and 2 meg up service, and when they really looked at their bandwidth and evaluated what they needed, they landed on a symmetrical 5 meg down, 5 meg up service from Alaska Communications rather than a 22 down and 22 up.
So the next point or question we like to pose to you, and that you should sort of pose to your own organization as you're evaluating your bandwidth service provider, is are you okay with paying overages? There are some companies out there, internet service providers in the state, that sort of offer you capped usage models and maybe mislead you with very low prices. And Thomas just alluded to that 22 meg down, 2 meg up, which can look very appealing from a download standpoint and perhaps from a pricing standpoint, but usually brings with it a capped usage model, which means you're going to pay overages for data you use over and above that which you're buying. One of the things we've found, on average, the customers we acquire from said competitor typically have been paying 500 to 600% of their monthly bill in overage fees, which we're able to give them a more reliable connection, but also a more cost-effective connection and reliable payment to where they're not likely to face high overages each month. So is consistent operating expense important to you? I know for me as a business professional, managing risk is critical. Predicting future revenues and future costs are pretty important to how you run your business. And one of the things we find is a lot of customers that join us are really looking for that reliable cost that they can account for every month and not face those nasty overages. I guess building on the first slide we shared with you too about the growing demands of bandwidth over the next 12 months to 12 years is, do you really know what your bandwidth needs are going to be next month? Do you really know what your bandwidth needs are going to be next year? So how long is your contract? Are you prepared to pay overages that, frankly, will probably grow over time as your bandwidth needs grow? Or are you looking for more of a fixed cost each month that's predictable, you can budget around, but also gives you a more reliable internet connection as well? So this is the slide I like to call the why cable modems weren't meant for business, because usually they bring with it some nasty overage fees, which most of the customers we talk to are looking to get rid of.
So then, getting also back, and I'll cover these next two slides fairly quickly, getting back to the how important is your connection, the corollary of these next two slides is how reliable is your connection. And Alaska Communications offers service level agreements that can ensure, with the potential for financial penalties, service level agreements. And as you think about service level agreements, there's what's called 3 nines, 4 nines, and 5 nines, and it's as simple as counting the number of nines in that percentage. And 5 nines reliability allows for less than a minute a month downtime. And so with Alaska Communications' powerful network, all of that is manageable and monitorable. And so as you look at the...
One of the things I think it makes sense to do, just following what you just said, Thomas, is I don't know for the folks on the call how many today are earning money through perhaps an e-commerce site that's very dependent on an internet connection. But if you basically divide your revenue by 365 days,
Yep.
that's how much revenue you're earning a day. If you then divide that by the number of minutes in a day, that's how much money you're earning in a minute.
Right.
So if you were to take that, you can calculate your cost of what a minute of downtime might cost your company, which is pretty eye-opening for a lot of people who, if you're looking for best effort versus a guarantee of how much uptime you'll have, and then financial penalties to your provider, if they don't meet those, it really puts some sort of teeth in the game for companies that are, as we've seen, very dependent upon an internet connection.
Absolutely, and I think the math problem is even simpler than that, in that if you look at your busy hour as we go into the Christmas season, you lose a minute, 4.3 minutes, or 43 minutes worth of commerce going into the Christmas season during the busy hour, and it has some significant impacts.
Bingo.
So then how do you get that reliable network? Alaska Communications is focused on making sure that the network that drives the power of your business is up and meets those 5 nines criteria, depending obviously on the service you select. We have 2 network monitoring systems. They are monitored 24/7, and they provide, as the slide says, proactive monitoring. That means when we start getting events, not necessarily alarms, but events that start looking odd, the team that we have in place starts digging into those before they become alarms. And so when you think about, again, as we're going into the Christmas season, and if you are running e-commerce, making sure that your network connection is reliable and you have the power behind it of the dual NOC monitoring 24/7 provides you the comfort and the power to run your business effectively.
I find most IT professionals I talk to are all about trying to remove headaches and trying to ensure predictability.
Yeah.
And we like to view IT as a profit center, not a cost center. So then it allows IT to stop worrying about the mundane. Your connectivity should be something that just works.
Yes.
So anything that allows an IT professional to just not have to worry about something like that anymore, allows them to focus on powering applications that power the business. We find that a lot of customers go, "You're speaking my language now, thank you."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to build on that, the security of the connection takes many forms, right? We've all heard about hackers. They are less an impact now, with the exception of viruses through email. But really what we're looking at and what Alaska Communications monitors with our dual NOCs is what's called a bit storm. And a bit storm is where just a ton of information comes into the network and slows down the routing system of the network. Fortunately, Alaska Communications developed its network to compartmentalize the traffic so that if a bit storm comes in and would normally slow down a less sophisticated network, it doesn't slow down the Alaska Communications network because it never gets commingled with the traffic, basically your traffic, running for your business. So now we're looking at managing your bandwidth and how much bandwidth you're currently buying to get a sense of what your needs are and what you're using. So our survey question is, how much bandwidth are you currently buying? We have less than 5 meg, 6 to 10 meg, 10 to 20 meg, or 20 meg plus, or the possibility of I don't know. So if you could take a moment to answer those questions, you'll see the instant survey results.
that's a pretty compelling stat there, Thomas. We're seeing, I assume you are as well, the folks on the phone. A lot of folks don't know what they're buying, and that's either a really good thing or a really scary thing in my mind.
Yep.
One, you don't know because you haven't had to worry about it, which means you're getting reliable experience. Or two, your provider's not maybe providing you with sort of the utilization reports. Are you buying enough? Is your network facing the congestion that frankly could be avoided by a better connection, more of a symmetrical connection, those sorts of things. So pretty compelling stat as I see that maybe a lot of people don't know exactly what they're buying. I guess the fault to that would be, are you satisfied, with the connection you're getting? But we won't ask that today. I think moving to the next slide, one of the things we like to encourage people is, do you have sufficient bandwidth for your business continuity or disaster recovery plans? And I think, BCDR, as it's called, business continuity disaster recovery, is not just a hot topic du jour, but really something that every business owner, from a sole proprietor to a 1,000-person multinational corporation, should be looking at. How do you prepare your business to continue in the face of disaster or recover from a disaster? And one of the things which we find is a great solution for people is backing up your data. A lot of people are, best practice say you should do that at least once a day. And a lot of people are beginning to embrace the idea of backing that up into the cloud, using off-site storage, powered through internet connection, and making a duplicate copy of your data at least once a day, sometimes more frequently than that. But we find a lot of people aren't investing in the appropriate bandwidth to power that connection. So you need to sort of factor that bandwidth in, as we talked about at the very first point, what you do with your bandwidth. Off-site backups, as the second bullet says, are only as good as your ability to get a full replicated copy off-site. So it goes to that managing to the business hour, not just your utilization or your hours of operation, but also, what are you doing between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m.? Are you backing up? Do you have enough upload capacity in your bandwidth to basically make a full replicated copy of your data every single day? So one of the things which we like to encourage people is make sure that they don't underestimate the importance of sort of the upload speed, especially if you're doing things like backing up in the cloud. We like to say your interaction, with so much riding on your internet connection, is sort of the last place you want to skimp on your investment. I know as you buy more bandwidth, it can seem like a daunting bill sometimes, but frankly, with so much riding on it, is it really the area where you want to skimp?
And this last slide I like to call the mini spare tire. And what I mean by that is disregarding upload speeds and discounting upload speeds is like driving a Ferrari with a mini spare on it. It doesn't allow the full performance of the vehicle. And as we've talked about throughout this entire presentation, going back to the very first slide in the bandwidth growth and cloud services, upload speeds are becoming more and more critical to folks' business. Certainly the internet has changed from a feed me download to more of an interactive to the cloud, pulling and pushing information at a real-time basis such that you can monitor your business, you can make your sales, you can get to where you need to be with symmetrical bandwidth. And Alaska Communications, for example, the one I used earlier where the company went away from a 22 down to up to a 5 meg symmetrical, because in looking at their bandwidth, it was critically important for one of their remote offices to get the information to their main hub in a efficient and secure manner. And that goes exactly to what Sandy was describing in the last slide. So as I look at this slide, we have the green and red arrows the same size, but I really do like thinking about this as I'm shorting myself by putting a mini spare on a Ferrari. Anything else, Sandy?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'd add to that is, I mentioned video conferencing, which is a very latency-sensitive application. People think they've got a big download speed that they can power video conferencing, but often you can get by with a smaller download speed, but increasing your upload speed to power video conferencing, because you might get the picture of the person that you're video conferencing with, but they might not see the picture of you. That's because you're limited by your upload speed. You can't upload your picture, if you will, your video for them to see because you're hamstrung by a slow upload speed. And one of the things we find is just sort of basic fundamentals. A lot of upload needs sort of vary by industry. We talk to a lot of companies in sort of the construction industry or sort of architectural firms that are dealing with very large files, blueprints, construction plans, those sorts of things. X-rays, yeah. Healthcare is another great example where it's a very upload-dependent industry vertical that hasn't sort of been able to solve their challenges. They just keep increasing their download and not realizing that's really the importance of upload, that they're using their internet connection to power their business, and often can sort of get much more increased results by increasing their upload speed to match that of their download speed. That symmetrical connection, Thomas, you were talking about. And obviously one of the important things to mention here is cable modems simply can't help here. If you have an upload-dependent organization where what you're doing requires sharing a lot of information upload via the internet, a cable modem usually is not sufficient for what you're doing. So, one of the things, and this is maybe the minor, small little sales pitch, hopefully what you've seen today has been helpful for you in your business, but we like to make sure people know how Alaska Communications can help. And for those of you that maybe are not our customers today, we'd certainly like to think that we could earn your business by delivering a low-cost offering that would sort of meet your needs and give you a reliable connection. But we're offering to those on the phone today, and we'll talk about how we can take advantage of this offer, we'd like to conduct an assessment for you. Evaluate how much bandwidth you're using today, maybe what your needs are today, and frankly, moving forward, what your bandwidth utilization will likely grow to over the next few years, and perhaps determine which service may be best for your business, knowing that not all internet connections are created equal. So for those of you on the phone, we'll make this available to you. You can sort of redeem this and talk to us about this assessment by emailing us at tellmemore. We'll give you this in a few minutes. tellmemore@acsalaska.com. But we also provide a fair number of services. One of which, of course, is we're internet service provider and can provide bandwidth to meet the needs of any organization, from a sole proprietor to globally multinationals, from 512K to 1 gig. But we also have sort of network management. We can help manage that connection for you. Thomas spoke earlier today about how you ensure the reliability or security of your connection. Part of that goes along with having a managed connection. But also business productivity applications, whether that's WAN acceleration, business phone systems, a hosted voice, perhaps offsite storage, as we spoke to. Those are all things that we can offer you as not only an internet service provider, but a full IT solutions provider. And disaster recovery and business continuity planning. We've got some consultants on staff that are certified to help people sort of basically obtain or meet best practices around how you ensure your organization's ready to recover in the event of a disaster. So that's how we can help. We'd like, obviously, to think that some of you may be interested in taking advantage of our offer and would be interested in doing business with us in the future.
Well, Thomas and Sandy, thank you for your presentation. I hope that our attendees found this information to be informative. We've got some contact information available for our attendees. If you want, you can reach out to Thomas and Sandy afterwards. During the presentation, we did receive a number of questions, so we'll move right into our Q&A portion, and we'll devote about 10 minutes to this portion of our program. Any questions that you have that we don't get to, we will address later, but via email. So you can send those questions to tellmemore@acsalaska.com or directly to Thomas or to Sandy.
And you can also use the chat feature right now in your ReadyTalk webinar instance. We've got a few which we'll get to in just a moment here. But I encourage any of you on the phone today with questions that we haven't answered in our presentation, please use the chat function in your webinar tool right now. First question we've got is, with ACS TLS service, which is a shared experience, is there any CIR that ACS can offer to a specific site, for example, in Anchorage?
The answer is yes, and we have moved away from, to put the acronyms in context, TLS stands for Transparent LAN Service. It is now called Metro Ethernet. And the CIR that's referenced in the question is Committed Information Rate. Alaska Communications tariffed Metro Ethernet is a best effort service. However, we do also offer an enhanced Metro Ethernet product, which does provide a dedicated committed information rate to a location in Anchorage.
Great. Thank you, Thomas. One of the questions, I don't know if this is a customer of ours or not, is our bandwidth listed on our monthly bill?
The answer is yes.
There we go. If you're an Alaska Communications customer, it is. If you're not, check with your provider, I suppose. But we'd love to earn your business. A couple other questions we've got here. So with all the talk of the cloud, is it really all that important to have fast upload speeds?
And I think this question was asked prior to my last slide. It absolutely is critical to have symmetrical bandwidth and manage your upload speed into the cloud for backup, for x-rays, for construction pictures, for all of those needs that folks may not be conceptualizing and be taking for granted, but are critical to the running and efficient management of their business.
Great. I think this question also came in before we covered this, but are there guarantees with your internet connections?
Yes. As part of the service, we do offer management levels. We saw the 3 nines, 4 nines, and 5 nines, and those are opportunities that folks can chat with their account managers with.
It seems as if, sort of, with so much riding on your internet connection, you want to partner with a provider that's willing to be as confident in their service and their ability to deliver that service that they're willing to put financial penalties in place if they don't meet those expectations.
Absolutely, because in our partnership, if you're harmed, there should be some teeth about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't want to partner with a company that didn't. What do I do with multiple locations? That's maybe too broad of a question, but Thomas, I guess I'd ask you to handle that.
Well, that is a broad question, but we do have bandwidth throughout the state, and so we can help you get connectivity wherever you are, and there are different mediums to get there. There's fiber, there's satellite for the really remote areas. And the best answer to that is to really, as Sandy alluded to in the presentation, come in and have an evaluation of your bandwidth needs done, and set that up on a 2 times a year basis so that you can have your bandwidth managed so you can get about being your business.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary, Thomas. And then last question we've got here, and certainly if I see any more pop up in the chat window, I'll be happy to ask those folks. But last question we've got is, what is Alaska Communications' servable area?
We reach every town and location in the state.
And I think that probably speaks to the medium in which we reach them, obviously.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we, where there are bandwidth constraints, we have opportunities to optimize the bandwidth through what's called WAN acceleration. So that it takes out the empty spaces and makes your X-ray go from taking a half hour to 5 minutes because it gets rid of the excess spaces.
And that's a separate webinar, actually. We've got future in the plan, basically what is WAN acceleration and how can it help your business.
Look for it. It's great stuff.
That's one of the things which you'll see in the near future. But WAN acceleration, we're a partner with a company called Riverbed. If you're at all interested in WAN acceleration and how that may be able to help your business, we'll have a webinar probably in the next couple of weeks on that. Another question popped up. Is ACS planning to upgrade the system in outlying rural areas still on the road system?
The answer is yes. We are constantly upgrading our system. And it says still on the road system, and we are doing that every day.
I guess for the lady that asked that question, we'd like to talk to you about your needs and where your needs may be and how our growth could intersect with those needs. To Thomas's point, we're constantly upgrading, constantly investing in our network to better serve the needs of our customers. Obviously, depending on where your needs are, hopefully that would intersect with our growth plans, but would be happy to talk to you further. I guess I'd encourage you, and frankly all the folks on the webinar today, to email us at tellmemore@acsalaska.com. That is the email address which I and my team manage and basically can be used for folks who are looking to take advantage of the network assessment that we referenced earlier, as well as those who may have follow-up questions to reach Thomas or I, or perhaps be connected with the salesperson to talk further about how we could meet your business needs with some of our products and services, hopefully at a more affordable rate than you're paying today with perhaps a competitor. I don't see any other... oh, wait. is there a cable build-out anticipated in Fairbanks and where?
I don't know the specific engineering specifications. I would need to touch base with our engineering department to find that. What I can do is similar to the last question. We are absolutely continuing to upgrade our network. I don't want to say cable build-out because we have different types of mediums that we build out, and we are constantly improving and upgrading our network.
Yeah, we're always looking to build fiber in new places to meet more customers. For the gentleman that asked that question, perhaps the two of you would ask build questions in the last few minutes. If it's all right, I'd like to reach out to you personally and have discussions around what your needs may be and how we can connect you with one of our client account managers to see how our build plans intersect with your needs. We'll do so, and if you're interested, we'd love to continue the dialogue post today.
Contact Thomas or Sandy. Also, there's Joe Koval is Senior Manager for Product with Alaska Communications, very knowledgeable about our business internet services. Please visit us online at alaskacommunications.com or go ahead and reach out to us at tellmemore@acsalaska.com. Thank you again for your attendance today.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.